Okay, here we are again. I'm Chef Julia Dunaway doing some more live cooking demonstrations because it is bundle time this year, 2025. And one of my new ebooks, cookbooks is in the bundle. It's called the 7-Day Meal Plan for the 21-Day Challenge. I'm a plant-based, whole food plant-based chef, no oil, and I make things and try to make them taste good so that people will eat this way, not only eat this way, but enjoy it. So one of the things I wanted to be sure to make was chili because that's something that almost everybody will eat, even the people that don't eat a plant-based diet. So if you're watching, I've got the messages enabled. You can click thumbs up or give me a message and let me know you can hear me okay. Always checking the sound because I don't want to talk for a long time and find out there's a glitch somewhere, and that happens, so I always have to check. So I can answer your questions. Christy Schubert North is on. Thanks for attending, Christy. And this is probably something you've already made, maybe many times, maybe not that many times, but it's a recipe that I've had around for quite a while. I guess you can see my cutting board pretty well. So everyone hear me okay? Somebody give me a response. And I also have my pan so that we can see when I'm cooking. So we'll go back and forth a little bit. Okay. Diana's here. Happy to be here this morning. Sounds fine. Can't stay. Spice Island Vegan says good morning. B Joy P says good morning. Belinda Knowles from Dayton. Sound is good here. Okay, great. So I'm drinking my Dandy blend with a little almond milk. If you don't know about Dandy blend, it's it's a decaffeinated blend of different roots, and it tastes a lot like coffee. It's really pretty good, and I've been drinking it ever since the cruise, the National Health Association cruise, because they served it in the breakfast place, in the breakfast dining areas, and also at our kind of like Starbucks type of a cafe. We have TS, Sam Check. So great. I'm glad you guys are attending these lives. I see a lot of the same names, so I guess that means you must be getting something out of them or you wouldn't keep coming back. So the bundle will be here for a few more days. So if you haven't already gotten it, be sure to get it. I will throw the link in here. I think I have it already saved so I can get it here in the comments. If I can get my mouse over there. No, I'm going to have to pull it up. You'd think I would remember it after all this time, but I get busy. Morning from Canada. Oh, great. Nice to have you, Angie. Okay, so let's see. If you want to purchase the bundle, remember it is 83 different items, either books, videos, courses. Come here, Toshi. Come say hi. Just different kind of either electronic books, ebooks, or access to coaching, access to just different courses and videos. And if you were to buy all these things separately, it would cost over $5,500, and it's $49. Hello, Roxy. And the thing about the bundle is it's only here for a few days, 10 days, and then it goes away and you'll never see it again. And I swear every year people will tell me that it'll be like a week or a day after the bundle's over and they'll say, oh, I saw a post about that bundle and can I get it now? And it's like, no, once it's gone, it's always gone. And I feel like I'm posting a lot of stuff about the bundle all the time. But what I find out is not everybody sees it. So you might see it one day, but somebody else might not see it. So if you think there's a lot of posts about it, there's a reason for that because people don't always see the same thing that you do. So one of the things let's get on to the cooking. One of the things in my 21-day challenge, which is to eat nothing but plants, beans, grains, vegetables, fruit, according to the Daily Dozen. Hello, Leanne, which is popularized by Dr. Michael Greger in the book How Not to Die. And he talks about how you can incorporate a whole food plant-based diet into your lifestyle by doing the same dozen things every day, which also includes 90 minutes of exercise, along with eating beans, grains, vegetables, fruits, nuts and seeds, berries, greens. So a very, very filling diet of a lot of food. And that's what I did for a period of about 6 months and ended up losing pretty much all the weight I needed to lose. It was close to 30 pounds. And so I kept doing it since 2020, and it's worked really well for me. So I always try to get other people that are interested to do it with me. And I have a support group called Chef Julia Support Group on Facebook now. And there are over 7,500 members of that group since 2020, which I think is pretty good because the people in my group, I try to help by posting recipes and links and um, doing 21-day challenges where we do the same thing that I did to get started. And so I wanted to have a 7-day meal plan so that everybody could see what you could eat over a 7-day period and how it all plugged into the daily dozen, like what it equaled in terms of a serving of greens, grains, vegetables, fruit, because to me it's pretty obvious, but I always had questions from people that said, well, how do I get this? And what does this count as? So I thought I would do like 7 days of what I would eat and plug it into the daily dozen model. So that's what that ebook is about. Or you can print it out. Anytime you see an ebook, of course, you can always print them out, send them to Staples, and get yourself a book, which I do that all the time because it's a lot easier to look at recipes in front of me than trying to use a device and do it from there. So, if you do print the book off, it isn't cheap. It's $20 color, but if you print it off in black and white, it's a lot cheaper. So you can do it either way, or you can do it on your home computer. That's what I do sometimes, but it doesn't ever come out as good as when I have it done at Staples and I don't have to mess with the everything. And also, printer ink is not cheap. So I have all the ingredients for my chili here. You can see it over on my tray. I've got tomatoes and spices, and this one's going to have mushrooms and chili powders, and I have some beans, and I'll talk about all that as we go, but we need to get some things cooking here. We need to get our onions cooking. And I have some of my garnish here I just got through making. These are the crispiest, most delicious tortilla chips. And I'm going to talk about how I made those too. But, they're crunchy, just like a store-bought tortilla chip. They use no oil. There's actually no salt in these. They're just thrown in the air fryer for a total of 4 minutes. So you can make chips anytime you want using this technique. And if you don't have an air fryer or don't want to use an air fryer, you can always just use your oven. It takes longer. Okay, let me turn my heat down a little bit. I don't have anything other than my pan over here, and I can show you a view of it. Actually, maybe I'll move it over here. Tell you what, oops, sorry about that noise. This burner is not quite as hot as that burner, but that way you can see what I'm doing. And then we can always put it over here, and I have a top-down type of camera, but we don't really need to see that for a while. All right, so I'm going to cut the onion up. I'm going to use this whole onion. This is a yellow onion. Hello, Kim. Hello, Baron. Lydia. Wow, you guys have been attending a lot of these live stream videos. I really appreciate you. It's good to see you back. And I guess I hope you're getting some useful information, and that's why you're attending, because otherwise I think I can't imagine having to listen to me every day like this. I went back and watched my video, the one where somebody saw a roadrunner behind me, because I wanted to see the roadrunner. I have a bowl here for all my scraps, and I put them in the compost bin outside. So I collect it all, and then I have really good compost for my garden. So I watched that video, and I thought, oh my gosh, she just talks way too much. So, but you guys are patient and sticking with me throughout this. I really appreciate it because this is a marathon. This 10 days, the bundle is 10 days. And, the advice that we get is to do live streaming and post about it and talk about contributors in the bundle and just kind of so people know what it is. Because when I first heard of it, uh, B Joy P says, I would love listening to you regularly. Well, great. I plan to come back and do some kind of weekly things. People calling. So what I did was if you look at an onion, it has little lines on it. And if you cut along those lines, it will end up being about 1/4 of an inch dice, which is what we want for our onion. We want it to be about 1/4 of an inch. And I need 2 cups of onions. This is not going to be 2 cups. This will be kind of close, but not exactly 2 cups. So we'll do a little bit more of this onion because you need plenty of onions. We could measure this and see how much it is, just so you'll know. It's always good to have an idea. Okay, so this is half of a big onion. There's 1 cup. Hear it sizzle? That means the pan is hot, and I like to start with a hot pan, not too hot. So see, this is not quite 2 cups of onion. So I think it's enough. We'll just leave it at that, and we won't cut into this other one. It's pretty close, but not quite. Leanne says, I love watching your videos and always find something new that helps me. Well, good. That's kind of noisy, isn't it? I have a little spatula. My pot is hex clad, and that's all I use anymore because they're you can use metal utensils in them, and they're very hardy. And I've had them for probably 3 years now. They don't scratch. They don't have a nonstick surface, and they're just really good. I have every size you can imagine, and they are in my Amazon store, but not in the bundle section. There, I had some onions that fell down here. Might as well put them in. So I will add. In fact, I should probably keep a little note here. Well, that's okay. I can't find my pen handy, but I will go back, and every day after I do a demo, if you ask me about something I'm using, I go back in there and I update my list and add new things to it. So like yesterday, after one of my cookie recipes, I went in and added some new stuff that the spring roll recipes. I added the mandolin and some of the Japanese stuff. TS says, I personally love listening to your tips and stories. You have knowledge and are able to teach in a fantastic manner. Christy says, I enjoy watching you cook. My husband just came, Angie said, my husband just came in. He opened the door. Chef Julia's in the house. That's funny. I met somebody that had been watching all my videos for a couple of years, and I'd done coaching with her. And, I just had done a bunch of stuff with her. And when I finally met them, then the husband, Jim, he said, well, I already know you. I've been watching you on videos for years. So he was like, he knew everything about me. It was just kind of funny. How do you store your half onion so it doesn't flavor other things in the fridge? Okay, what I do is I put saran wrap around it and put it in a Ziploc bag, so it's like double layered. That's what I do. Now, people that don't like to use plastic, you can just put it in a glass container with a tight lid, and it'll be fine. Okay, for this chili, I'm going to add some mushrooms. Well, let me get the garlic too. Garlic and mushrooms. Always try to find a way to use mushrooms if you can, because, I also listen to Dr. Furman and other doctors, Dr. Esselstyn. Sam says, we've eaten so well since these lives, Julia. Very inspiring. I have the mung bean omelets on the go today and breakfast cookies for Saturday. Thank you so much for all your efforts. Much appreciated. Oh, that's wonderful. That's what I'm hoping, that you guys will be making some of this food. I have a house full of food myself. I've been eating those wonderful spring rolls that I made yesterday. I had them for lunch and dinner, and they were terrific. I enjoyed them so much. And even cold, after sitting in the fridge all day, they were still pretty good. And I still have a few left, so I'm probably going to eat those for my lunch today. Then last night I made carrot cake cookies, which my husband loved. So he munched on those when they were still warm, and he was very happy. Today I'll have chili, and he likes my chili, so we've been eating good here too. Okay, I have some garlic cloves that I peeled. Remember what I told you last time? If you cut the ends off the garlic cloves, the hard end, and then kind of press them with your knife, the peel comes right off, and then I'm just gently, I'm trying not to be too noisy because I've had people say that I make too much noise, so I'm trying not to make as much clanging sounds for you. But it's hard to do that with a cutting board. So then you just chop up your garlic. No, I don't use pre-chopped garlic just because no matter what a good source it came from, it's not ever as good as whole garlic that you buy in the store. And right now, you can get really good quality garlic, in the grocery store. Okay, my onions are starting to get a little too dark. So what I'm going to do now, I'll put this camera over here where you can see it. What I'm going to do, no, I don't think you want it that close. That's not very handy. Okay, I think I got it to where you can see it. I want you to see how brown these onions are. See how they're getting kind of dark? We don't want them that dark, so we need to get some water in here. I'm just going to get some from the sink. So now I add water. I don't usually add water in the beginning, but I had this heat turned up a little higher than I thought. So they're fine. They're not burnt, but they're a little browner than I thought. You don't want the stuff too brown because you will get a burnt taste. And according to some of the plant-based doctors, you don't want to have a lot of browning in your food because it creates acrylamides, which are bad for you. So learn something every day. I still like them lightly brown because I think it brings out the flavor. So anyway, we have been eating really good here too. And that's the key to sticking with this lifestyle is if you don't have anything to eat, then it gets tempting to order food out, right? Like order food from, don't worry about the sounds. Anyone in the kitchen who's cutting and cooking makes sounds too. Leanne said I got some Amish apple butter yesterday so I can make the oatmeal cookies. So excited. Great. And Spice Island Vegan said she made this chili, so it was raining in Southern California. That must be Debbie Knight, Spice Island Vegan. So, you know, uh, make food. And that's the key that when I was coaching people and having my retreats, Kim says she's been enjoying this chili all week. So good, great. I'm glad you made that, Kim. Yeah, so the thing that happens if you don't have food around is you will be tempted to order DoorDash, right? I don't ever order DoorDash, but my kids do. And it's expensive and they don't have what we eat anyway. So why would you order it? But I know people who do because they get hungry. And when you get hungry and you don't have food around and you don't have healthy, plant-based, no oil restaurant around, which how many of those are around? Very few, if any. So we don't have Chef Julia's restaurant with whole food plant-based chili or whatever down on the next corner. I wish we did because I would use it if we had, places that actually have good food. I'd be the first to get the food. But most places I find if they leave out the oil, they're still salty. There's still something that doesn't go with our way of eating. Usually it's the salt, super salty. Like there's a Vietnamese place that will make a really good veggie noodle soup. And the problem with it is real salty. So even though it's completely plant-based, no oil, they make it special for me. Whenever I eat it, I can feel myself bloating up, swelling up. By the next day, I'll have gained a few pounds. Debbie Jo says, I just jumped in. I missed the name of this recipe. This is from the 21-Day Challenge ebook, and it's from day 3, Wednesday, and it's called Basic Chili. So basic chili is just, something that you can make easily. You can use canned beans. You don't have to spend all day making beans. You can make it when you get home from work. Bye, Diana. Thanks for coming in and watch the replay. I'm going to turn the heat up a little bit now that I've got the mushrooms in. So I added about a cup of cremini mushrooms because, I also follow Dr. Furman, and he's really big on G-bombs, greens, beans, greens, berries, onions, mushrooms, beans, and seeds. And mushrooms have so many healing properties in them. So he's encouraging all the time to eat mushrooms with every meal. So I'm trying to incorporate more, but they are in my recipe anyway. So add the cup of mushrooms, and then we're going to start adding some of our spices while these are cooking. And we will add our beans eventually. So we're going to have some red chili powder. And I get mine from the Santa Fe School of Cooking because I love to visit Santa Fe, New Mexico. And I think Christy North lives in Santa Fe or New Mexico somewhere. And they just have the best spices I've ever had at that particular place, the Santa Fe School of Cooking. But you can order them online too. They come in these cans. They last a long time. And they just taste better than your typical chili powder. It's a lot stronger though. So I always say, like in this recipe, 1 teaspoon, and 1 teaspoon is a good amount. uh, some recipes will say 3 tablespoons of chili powder, but they're using like Gerhardt or McCormick chili powder that doesn't taste like anything to me. So if you're using a really powerful chili powder, then don't use much. Like you can see it's dark, bright red. Just use a little bit to start with. And then I have another chili powder I'm going to use about half a teaspoon of. It's called Chimayo chili powder. And Chimayo chilies are very rare. You can only call them Chimayo if they're grown in Chimayo, New Mexico. And these are so expensive. Like one little bag is $15 for this little 4-ounce bag. And I keep it in the freezer and I use it when I make, New Mexican food, chili, enchiladas, things that it just gives it a really robust flavor. And I think you can order some of these online, but I usually go to Chimayo whenever we go to New Mexico and pick up a couple of bags and keep them in the freezer. Okay, so it's starting to stick a little bit now, so I'm going to put some more water in there because I can see it's not over browning, but it's kind of sticking, so it's not going to hurt anything to put a little water in here. So I've just got the mushrooms, onions, and now I'm adding some of my chili powder, a couple of chili powders, and then I'll add some cumin. Ground cumin always gives things a good taste. Uh, that's good. Christy says we're in Placitas, which is about 30 miles south of Santa Fe. My daughter and I took a class at Santa Fe cooking school and loved it. That place is great. They have cooking equipment, they have classes, they have spices, they have everything. I love that place. Whenever we go to Santa Fe, I always make sure I go there and spend a lot of time. A half a teaspoon of ground coriander. So I just use my teaspoon and use about half. And then, what else? Then we're going to add the beans. Let me mix this up. Let me mix the spices up. It smells really good. I wish you could smell it. So good with that chili powder and the cumin and everything. It just has such a nice flavor. So let me show you what I've got in here so far. So you see I've got and it's simmering at a good heat. We want to cook these things. We want to cook the mushrooms. We want to cook the onions. We want to cook everything so that it's soft and it tastes good. We don't want it to be raw and boiled. And that's one of the things I notice with people who don't like plant-based food, is a lot of times what they're doing is somebody told them that to just put a bunch of water in their pan and then add everything to it and then cook it. Well, what happens is it ends up kind of just being boiled and then it doesn't have any flavor. It just tastes really bland. So I'm going to add 2 cans of pinto beans, and I've drained and rinsed them. And I didn't have any fresh pinto beans, so I used this brand. It's organic and it's very low sodium. They sell them at the grocery store that I go to. It's Made With brand. And I like this brand because they taste really good. They have a small amount of sodium, not much. But what I really like to do is I really like to use Rancho Gordo pinto beans. Rancho Gordo pinto beans can be cooked in the Instant Pot or on the stove, either one. And they're pretty good either way. I'll tell you a little bit more about Rancho Gordo beans once I get this going. And then this is the black beans that I made. Remember when, I think it was the first day it said, let's make beans. And I made them on Monday. Or I can't remember now. Anyway, it was earlier in the week and I froze them because after a few days, like for me, about 4 days, five at the most, I like to get things in the freezer. I don't think they're very good um, beyond that. So for me, 4 days is about my limit. And the fifth day, I get them all in the freezer. So I put them in the freezer, knowing I would probably be bringing them out for this. 2 cups of vegetable stock. And let me get this heating up on a higher heat. So I've got 2 cups of vegetable stock, and I'll talk about how I make the vegetable stock once I get this boiling so that we'll have plenty of time. And then 2 cans of fire roasted tomatoes. And these are not fire roasted. I couldn't find them at the store. They're just diced tomatoes, but the fire roasted tomatoes are a little bit better. And these are organic, and they're just a brand they're the HEB brand in Texas. That's a good brand. And they also have them with no salt added. But I use salt, so the amount of salt in here is okay for me because there's so many other things in it. So I don't mind having the salt in my tomatoes. If you don't like salt, you can always get the no salt brand. And so now I've got everything in here except for if you wanted to add corn, you could, but add it at the end after everything's done. Are the chili powders available in your Amazon store? That's from Marzi. No, because Santa Fe School of Cooking does not sell their stuff in Amazon. So you have to get it from their website, Santa Fe School of Cooking. And I do not have any kind of affiliate status with them. So, it's not going to help me if you get it from them, but I like their stuff. So, if you want to get it there, but I don't know anywhere else. You can also just go to a gourmet grocery store and buy a good chili powder from one of the better brands, or like at Central Market where I do my shopping, they have a spice section where you can get bulk spices, and they have several kinds of chili powder from different places around the country. So you can just get some chili powder there. What I would avoid are the Walmart chili powders that are made by some, mass-produced spice company, and then you keep them in your cupboard for a year or two, and then when you open them up, they have no smell. They don't have any flavor left. That doesn't really make a very good chili. So that's why I kind of go the extra mile and get my super delicious New Mexican red chili powder. And I recommend you do the same thing if you're plant-based and you're going to be eating a lot of plant-based food, because we don't eat a lot of things that flavor our food. Like in, regular conventional cooking, people are using oils and they're using all kinds of heavier seasonings, a lot more salt. Their their food probably just has a lot more flavor in it. So we need to have our spices be the best we could use. What could I use instead of Fresh Jack's tofu scramble seasoning? For the tofu fried rice, you can just use nutritional yeast. The tofu scramble seasoning, it's really nothing more. I have some right here. It is nothing more than nutritional yeast mixed with a little bit of black salt and garlic and paprika and turmeric. So those are the ingredients: black salt, garlic, paprika, turmeric, and nutritional yeast. So you can make your own. Just put some nutritional yeast in a bowl, add a little bit of black salt, garlic powder, paprika, and turmeric. Maybe like half a teaspoon of each. And that way you can have your own expensive bottle, which this bottle probably costs $12. I'm probably not going to keep ordering it. I'm probably going to start making my own because food and everything is getting so expensive. Why not find ways we can make our own? Let's see. Debbie Jo says, I'm glad you're making recipes from your 21-day ebook. It's helping me get motivated to get started on Sunday. I've got to run, but I'll be back to watch the replay. Thank you, Debbie Jo. I'm glad you're back. Okay. Belinda says, I haven't tried them yet, but I plan to. Tried what? The chili powders? Okay, I'm going to stir this a little bit. But if you don't have time to make a mixture of all that stuff, just be aware that you could just use nutritional yeast and it would be fine. Okay, I got this turned up super high. I want to bring this to a boil so that I can let it simmer. I am not going to be adding corn this time because I have a small amount of corn and I'm saving it for my curry, quinoa curry burgers I'm making, I think, tomorrow. And I don't want to go to the store again. So if I use the corn for this, I won't have it for that. But I'm going to get some more. And you can always add the corn when you heat it up. So when you heat up your portion, you remember how I told you to get your corn ready? Is take your frozen corn and you put it in a small bowl and pour boiling water over it and let it sit for 5 minutes and then it's ready to eat. Well, you could do that anytime you want and add it to your chili or whatever you have. Local Spicery. Local Spicery is a place you can order spices online too. And I've ordered a lot of their spices and they're pretty good. So the chili powders that I use are from the Santa Fe School of Cooking. And this one is called medium red chili powder. That's all it's called. It says, it's hard to read it. It says authentic red chili powder medium. And it's a lot, I think. I mean, it lasts me a long time. It's in a big container. But if you're ordering that, the other ones I use from there often, I have a bunch of them. You probably don't need to see all these, but just because you might be interested, the other ones I ordered or that I bought when I was there, I didn't really order them. They have a really good chipotle powder. You know how recipes call for chipotle and adobo and chipotle flavoring? Well, that means it's a roasted jalapeno. And so this has a smoky flavor. It's called chipotle powder. It's really good. And then habanero powder. You be really careful with this. It's super, super spicy. And when I had retreats here, I would put all these spices out for people to try. And I told them, I said, don't use the habanero powder. But if you do use it, use a tiny pinch because it's so spicy that it will overpower your food and you won't like it. So here, the group that made chili, they must have put a tablespoon of habanero powder in their chili. And I asked them, I said, I tasted it and I said, wow, your chili is really spicy. What did you do? And they said, oh, we put a bunch of habanero powder in it. And I said, oh, well, it's pretty spicy. Well, nobody could eat that chili. Everybody in the retreat, they were like, this chili is so hot, it's burning my tongue. I mean, just the heat of it. And then this is like red chili flakes. And I haven't really used this much because truthfully, it's not my favorite version of red chili flakes. It's a little bit coarse, so don't get that one. And then I have used this one a lot. This is the green chili powder. And this is really good. This would be good in my chili here. And also, if I really wanted to, like during hatch chili season, and this is the red. So like in the summertime when the green chilies come out, the hatch green chilies, one thing I love to do, and I could do that this time too, but I was trying to make a really basic chili. Allison Gordon has to go. Okay, hope you catch the replay. You can put fresh green chilies in here, or you can put, I'm going to put the link in here again for you. So the green chilies, they look like Anaheim peppers. They're long green peppers. You can roast them and they get blistered, peel the skin off, chop them up and put them in your chili. Well, you've probably seen all the cans of green chilies, mild green chilies, usually they're called. It's almost boiling. So when you see those mild green chilies in a can, or medium or spicy, most people like it mild, then that makes a good addition to this basic chili. But for this was for the 7-day plan. I wanted to give you the easiest, most basic chili. A lot of times I will add other things to it. Like, for example, Leanne just ordered the hatch green powder. That's good. That stuff is good. For example, you could add green bell peppers, red bell peppers when you're adding the onions and have those, especially if you have, say you have some leftover bell peppers that you need to use up. Well, that'd be good to add them. You could add in the summertime, if you had a lot of summer squash or something, or in the fall, butternut squash. You can always add those things to your chili, but don't get don't get carried away because one thing I don't like is I don't like things that are, I call them hodgepodge foods, where people take too many different competing flavors of food and throw them all together in a pot. And you can't really tell what anything is. Everything kind of mushes together. So I would just say keep it simple and you'll enjoy it more, I believe. If you get it too complicated, sometimes you get it to the point where it's not that enjoyable. So take my word for it. I've had experiences where people have messed up the food by making it too complicated. So this doesn't have to cook that long. Once it comes to a boil, we only have to cook it for simmer it for 30 minutes because everything in it's already cooked. We've already cooked the vegetables. The tomatoes are canned tomatoes and the beans are already cooked. So basically we're just simmering it for flavor. So it's a good thing to make if you're in a hurry. Let's see, M. Pennington says, my Louisiana grocery orders a case of New Mexico Hatch chilies for me every year. That's good. A case is a lot. And then you can take them out and roast them on your grill or in the oven, peel them, put them in the fridge and keep them for the next, I have them usually for a whole year. I think I used all mine from last year though, because I made so many things with them. But they're good in everything from, stir fries to chilies to enchiladas, just about anything that you like with a little spice. Okay, so this is coming to a boil, and I'll show you what it looks like at this stage. So isn't it beautiful? I mean, it's just a pot of chili, but you can see everything in it. You can see the tomatoes, the beans, the onions, the mushrooms. And what happens is those tomatoes will cook down. They will start to disappear after the next 30 minutes. I don't really like those big chunks of tomatoes in the chili. So what I do is I tend to kind of smash them against the side of the pan. Or I get my potato masher and kind of mash them up just because I don't really love the appearance of all those big chunks of tomato. But you don't have to do that. Okay, so now I can turn the heat down and put it more on a simmer, and I'll cover it back up. We did not put any salt in this. So the reason I didn't put any salt in it is I'm going to salt it. That somebody said that looks wonderful. And then M. Pennington says, I roast them, then freeze some and dehydrate some. That's a great idea. I freeze mine. And then Leanne says, I like them in cheese sauces. Yeah, that's a good idea. Chopped up Hatch chilies in a cheese sauce. That's wonderful. So Barbara says Santa Fe has a diced green chili that don't contain oil. That's good. Yeah. They do have diced green chili in the cans, or I guess you can buy them frozen. I don't know what product you're referring to. Maybe you could tell us. Okay, so let's get back to me. That's probably better watching that pot than watching me, but it's okay. All right, so let's talk about toppings for our chili, and then I'll go over some of my ingredients while we have a little time. So what we're going to put on our chili, to me, the toppings are just as much fun as the chili. And there are some things I've seen on social media in recent months where people would have like a chili board there in a can. Okay, good. That sounds good. I like diced green chili that's from Santa Fe better than probably those Ortega brands. So I've seen social media posts where they have like, instead of a charcuterie board, they have a chili board. And they'll have like a pot of chili and they'll have this huge display of toppings. And that's a thing now. So I thought, well, I've already been doing that. I've been doing that forever, having my own toppings. So one topping is our tortilla chips. And this is my air fryer. Okay, my air fryer has this pan, and then I bought a bunch of these parchment liners on Amazon. And anytime I put anything in the air fryer that I don't want to stick, I use that, because even these tortilla crisps will stick when they're wet. They might stick, so I don't want anything to stick. And then I'm going to put them in a bowl so I have them handy. And they only cook for 4 minutes. 2 minutes, kind of toss them around, cook them for 2 more minutes, and then they're done. So they're pretty good. And they taste good. They're crunchy, just like tortilla chips. And what they're made from are, and I learned this from Chef AJ because she talked about them on her show. They're this brand. It's called Mi Rancho, and be sure and get the ones that are called Thin Credibles. Thin Credibles is on the label because that means they're really thin. And these are the ones that are useful for making your own tortilla chips. So what you do is you cut them in little strips and you put them on the tray of your air fryer and air fry them for a total of 4 minutes. That's it. And then you have the most delicious little chips. And some people like to squeeze lime on them and sprinkle a little sea salt on them. And because then they have more of a flavor. I don't have to do that because they're going on chili. So the chili has a lot of flavor. I don't feel like we need to put lime juice and salt on these, but that is something that is good. We have some cilantro. I'm just going to set all my toppings here on my cutting board because I don't have a bunch of little containers. Usually I would have a bunch of little containers I would use. So my cilantro's already been washed and dried. I'm just going to put it in a little pile. And I showed you this before, but I'll show you today. Again, in case you haven't watched my shows for the last 5 days, however long I've been doing them. Seems like forever. Here's my little pile of cilantro. You can't see it. I'll put it where you can see it. And how I keep the cilantro fresh is it comes in a bag like this at the grocery store. I'm almost out now. I put them in a glass with water, and then I stick the cover that they came with on top and just set it on the shelf in my refrigerator. And a week later, the cilantro is still good. As opposed to if you just stick the whole cilantro bunch in your refrigerator vegetable drawer, pretty much it's not going to be any good after maybe 3 or 4 days, maybe longer, but in my experience, it'll be 3 or 4 days. Then we have some scallions. So we have our chips, our cilantro, and then we're going to have a couple of scallions cut up. Remember, only cut a small amount of the white part off, not the whole thing, because that's the best part to me. And then a little bit off the ends. And then I like to slice them kind of thin because I don't like to bite into a giant thick piece of scallions. I like to have really thin pieces of scallions in my food, green onions. So we'll just do this whole thing. I may not use it all today, but I can use them on other things. Okay, so I have my little pile of green onions, cilantro, green onions. I don't have any olives. I think in my photo I have olives. You can use black olives if you want, corn, black olives. You have a lot of options. The corn you put in at the end, so you can put in the corn when you reheat it if you really want that. Don't put too much because corn will overpower it. You won't like it with a ton of corn in it, I don't think. I've seen people post pictures of things where they've got too much of some kind of garnish, and it's not very appetizing to me. They might like it though, so you're the one eating it. If you like it, I guess it's fine. Here's an avocado. I think avocado tastes really good on the spicy chili, so we're going to use it. My way of cutting up the avocado neatly is to cut a little tiny sliver off the top and then make a little slit, and then you can peel the whole top right off. And then you don't have to make a big mess scooping it out of the shell, out of the skin. For the chili, I used to open a small bag of corn chips and scoop some chili into the bag and stir and go. That's like the walking taco or the walking chili. They have that in Santa Fe, New Mexico, where there's a drugstore, and that's their big seller is they have all these people going in and they get the bag of chili. They get a bag of Fritos with chili. Okay, so see how I have all these neat cut up avocados now, and they didn't get smashed because I just literally peeled the skin right off of them. So that's a good way to do it. I do that for sushi to get really nice, beautiful, even slices of avocado. So it also works for anytime you cut up an avocado. That's a good way to cut it up so it's nice and neat. Yeah, we don't eat Fritos, so we're probably not going to ever open up a bag of chips and put stuff in it. This is a new social media thing I've seen, and there's a guy that has a food truck, and I don't know exactly what it's called. I can't remember, but people come to the food truck and they bring a bag of chips, and then he takes their chips and puts all these different toppings on the chips, kind of like along those lines. But they're bringing like giant bags of flavored potato chips and corn chips and all these things, and it looks like 3,000 calories per plate of food. They put it in a giant serving container. I watched that and thought, oh my gosh, if I ate that, I would be full for about 3 days. But I guess it worked for him because he had a long line of people. Okay, so let's make some of our chili. Let's look at it. It's not been very long. The tomatoes are starting to cook down. Let's let it cook for a couple more minutes. And I'm smashing a few of the tomatoes on the side just because I don't like a lot of big chunks of tomatoes in here. So remember, you can take your spatula and just kind of push the tomatoes up against the side, and that kind of gets them a little bit mashed up. M. Pennington says, I love the avocado tip. Oh, good. I've showed that in my sushi classes. I learned that from the sushi chef. But he would do something that I don't know how to do very well. He would do that part, and then he would like use his knife and cut this long thing of perfect avocados and then fan them out and then lay them on top of the sushi. And, I don't know how to do that. I've tried, and it's hard. Okay, so I wanted to talk about the Rancho Gordo beans for a minute. You can order them from Rancho Gordo Beans website, and you don't have to be a member of the club. You can just order their beans, and they have the best pinto beans and black beans, and they're about what, $5-6 a bag, but they're so delicious. They're really worth the cost. So if you belong to the bean club, then you get a bunch of other beans, but I always get pinto beans and black beans. Have you ever made or tried vegan sour cream? I haven't, so been curious. I'm curious. Yes, it's really easy to make vegan sour cream. I have recipes in a lot of my classes where I made it. Basically, just soak some cashews. And then once your cashews are soaked, drain them, put them in your food processor, high-powered food processor or blender. So I have the Beast blender over here. It has a jar like this, and it works well for stuff like cashews, or a Vitamix blender, and then add about to a cup of cashews. You could add a half a cup of water, and then add some lemon juice, and you could add a few drops of apple cider vinegar, a little bit of salt, and that's it. That's basically vegan sour cream my way. Now, some people make it with silken tofu, and they just blend up silken tofu and add a little lemon and salt to it, and they call that sour cream. So you could do that. It's very, very easy. And then whatever you don't use, you can just freeze it in little 2-ounce portion cups. Like, I think I left them in here. Yep. I have tons of these little 2-ounce portion cups. And these are good for taking salad dressing to go or freezing small quantities of stuff. But you can also buy disposable plastic containers. These are nice because you can reuse them, getting away from disposable stuff. And they're in the bundle Amazon store that I created. So yeah, because if I make a batch of vegan sour cream, I'm not going to use all of it right away. It probably between me and nobody, because I'm the only one that's going to use it. My husband doesn't like real sour cream, so he doesn't like vegan sour cream. Nobody's going to use it in my house. So if I make a full recipe, it's going to end up being saved in little containers. But the thing you can do with it, if you have extra vegan sour cream, you can turn that into salad dressing because our vegan sour cream is just cashew based. So we can just add a few more things to it and turn it into a salad dressing. Add some extra vinegar, add a little bit of drop of mustard, add some dill and make it kind of a ranch flavor. Add some salsa to it and make it kind of a spicy ranch. So yeah, you can do that very easily. Okay, so let's construct our bowl of chili and get to eating. That would be the best part, right? Let's look at it. I have a ladle. So I would probably let it cook a little bit longer, but for the sake of getting my demo done, I'm going to go ahead and plate some up, and then I'll probably put it back in the pot and let it cook for a few more minutes because I really like to cook all these tomatoes down, but there's nothing wrong with it now. You know, it's certainly ready to eat. You know, it's been bubbling for quite a while. I just want you to see how to garnish it and how it looks finished. Okay, so I've got my bowl of chili. I'll get the camera view back to the bowl that I've got. But I'm really excited about my dinner tonight because I'm going to have this delicious chili and I don't have to worry about making anything. And that's always great. I'm wiping my bowl off because I got kind of messy. Don't you always notice on the cooking shows, they always clean off all their plates? That's because you don't want to serve something in a messy plate. And then we can garnish it with whatever we want. We can put a few scallions on there. If you prefer red onions, you can do that. Oh, here, let me get my comments enabled. Okay, thanks. Is a NutriBullet an adequate blender? I'm not sure. I've never owned one and kept it. Gracie says hello from the Houston area. Hi, Gracie. Louise says I do a quick blend of my tomatoes and my Vitamix. Can have them chunky or smooth as you like. Oh, that's a good idea. I usually don't do that. I usually cook it long enough to get the chunks out, but that's a good way to do it. Okay, then we can put a few pieces of jalapeno pepper if you like it spicy, and I do. And then our cilantro. I like to tear it a little bit so it's not gigantic. Then we can put a few pieces of our avocado. And then, of course, our delicious chips. And so what we have, and I'll put the other camera here so you can see a close-up of it. What we have is this delicious bowl of chili. It has crunchy toppings, creamy toppings, spicy toppings, and it has even, some cilantro, which gives it a little bit of a sharpness. And also, if you really like the idea of having, hold on, get the comments back up. If you like the idea of having sour cream, and I have done that before, you can definitely put a little spoonful of sour cream on the side here. So the idea of a chili board, Robin says, when will your new cookbooks be available to purchase on their own? Well, once the bundle is over, I think they'll be available through my website. I just have to get them listed on there. That's what I usually do. So yeah, every year I always sell my own books after the bundle, but they'll be the same price as buying the whole bundle. So that's the thing, to keep in mind. Like if you were to get the bundle for $49 now, and then wait a couple of weeks, and then say, well, I'm going to get Chef Julia's ebooks, then you would pay $50 for my 2 ebooks. And if you bought them now, then you would pay $50 and get 83 ebooks or whatever. And then if you don't like all the ebooks, you can add, you could download 4 or 5 of them and still get a couple $100 worth of stuff for $50. So whatever you decide to do. Okay, so let's taste it. It looks good, doesn't it? It looks very festive and delicious. We have to taste it to see if it's good. I might have to add something. It's really good. It has enough salt flavor for me because I used, where did I put it? I think I put it, maybe I didn't bring it in here. I used my Better Than Bouillon. I thought I brought it in here. Oh, here it is, right here, looking at me. I use my organic Better Than Bouillon, and it does have sodium, but I diluted it. Like I put a half of a teaspoon in 2 cups of water, so that's 350 milligrams of sodium. So it already has a small amount of sodium, and then my tomatoes have a little sodium, and my beans have a little sodium from the can. So between the canned beans, the bouillon broth, there's a little bit of sodium in there. So I didn't add any, but if you wanted to, you could add some right now, which just grind a little bit of sea salt on top of your food. That way you use very little. Or you can use, I have this miso nooch, that I've been using as kind of a salt replacement, and that tastes really good sprinkled on food. That gives it, it's like got nutritional yeast and miso powder, and it has a very strong taste. So you feel like you're putting salt on your food, but it really doesn't have a lot of sodium. It has 38 milligrams for a whole teaspoon. Well, I'm using like the equivalent of maybe a fourth of a teaspoon. So just a very, very little bit of sodium goes in, but it tastes like you're getting a lot more. So if you crave that salty topping, that works well. Kim says the bundle is so worth it. This year's the best by far. 2 Chef Julia books, Dr. McDougall's lectures. Can't wait to hear his lectures. Thank you, Kim. There's also some really good books in there, like even Broccoli Mom. I watch her stuff just because she's very popular and her stuff pops up all the time. So I had already purchased the Broccoli Mom's weight loss ebook a couple of months ago before I knew it was going to be in the bundle, and I paid $31 for it. And so, it's kind of like, well, I didn't even have to pay that because I got the bundle. So it's like, okay, that's $30. And then I got the How to Lower Your Blood Pressure book from Dr. Shobha, and I'm giving that to my son. And that's a great book, just that alone. It's very well written. And then yesterday I was on with Plant Powered Travel by Janet Rickey, and I'm going to make something from her ebook because I thought it was so cool. She had featured travel rice cooker. So I'm going to try it, and I'm also going to make some soup in it. So I'm learning stuff from these other people, and I think it's great. And, there's everything you can think of. Ramses Bravo, who's written a bunch of cookbooks, has a whole series on cooking tips and a bunch of short videos, like a course. So for somebody who's just starting out cooking, that would be very helpful. There's a coaching course. There's a label reading book, yoga, how to batch cook, plenty of raw stuff. There's courses on, here are the different cuisines: Mexican, Italian, pizza, burgers, cookies, me, and how to manage stress, emergency cravings, traveling. So, there are lots of things I found to be helpful. BJoy P said, I paid $29 for Dr. Furman's and it's included this time. See what I mean? So anyway, the way I look at it is, even if you only used a handful of other books, and you don't have to download all of them, it gives you a whole list, and you can look at the titles and you can say, oh, that one looks good, download it. And if you don't like it, you can always delete it. Okay, seriously, if you download something into your device or computer and you don't like this, you don't like it, you can just delete it. I've done that too, trust me. Okay, so one more bite of chili. And Kim said she was looking at Broccoli Mom's ebook a week ago and almost bought it. Okay, one more bite. It really is good. And my homemade black beans that I made the other day, in one of these live videos, they were so good because they're made from scratch beans. The canned pinto beans are pretty good too, because in chili you can't really tell that much of a difference. So make the chili and any of the other things I've been making. Today at 6 o'clock tonight, I'm going to make peanut butter bars. TS says, I notice when I use fresh jalapenos and take the seeds out, they are not spicy or hot. Is it where they are grown, or is it the seeds that make them hot and spicy? Well, really, it's supposed to be not the seeds so much, but the little membranes around the seed supposedly have the heat. So, but the seeds, if you have the seeds, then it tends to be hotter. So let's see. Gracie says, how do you gift part of the bundle? I'd like to gift some to my son. Well, I think once you've downloaded it, it's on your device. I don't know if you can share it or not. Maybe the best thing to do is buy a copy for your son and let him download it to his own device, and that way he'll have it for himself. So I don't know how you can share it. I'll have to ask the bundle creators if that's possible. I don't think they let you do that, because then, people could buy it and split it up among a bunch of people, I guess. It wouldn't be very cost effective if one person bought the bundle and then shared it with a bunch of people, right? So I think it can only be downloaded where you got it. That would make more sense to me. So tonight. Yeah, print it and give it to him. You can print stuff out of the bundle. I have to show you. This is funny that I printed this for my son because my son is struggling with high blood pressure. And so I printed out Dr. Shobha's ebook at Staples, and I'm going to give it to him as a gift because I can already tell you he is a busy person, and I can't see him scrolling on his device to read an ebook because he's always on his phone. He works at a place where he's supervisor of a lot of people, and he's always on the device. And whenever he gets home, he doesn't want to be scrolling on any kind of device, computer or otherwise. So I know that if I give him this printed book form, then he can sit there on his couch and relax and glance at it and not have to be looking, scrolling through a device, craning his neck. Our generation today, they're always looking down. So, yeah, you can print them out. It's not that expensive to print out an ebook, especially if you use black and white. So, yeah, good idea, Leanne, print it. All right, so 6 o'clock today, peanut butter bars. They are so good. You're going to love them. And then also, this chili it's cooking good. It is. Now the tomatoes are starting to get really soft. Once they get soft, it's a lot easier to smash them against the side of the pan. The other thing I'm going to do is at 1 o'clock, I'm going to go on with Jennifer Diamond. Jennifer Diamond, I met her when I was doing plant-based travel on Instagram with Janet Rickey the other day, and she was listening, and she messaged me. So at 1 o'clock Central Time, I'm going to go on her show, and she's going to send me the link. So I will post the link on my Facebook page. And if you want to see me and Jennifer Diamond on her program, then please tune in on that. That's at 1 o'clock today. 6 o'clock, I'll make peanut butter bars. And I'm tempted to make one more recipe late tonight because I have so many recipes I want to make and I'm running out of time to make them. So I might add another one. And if I do, I'll just post it on Facebook and it'll be late. So if you're a night owl and you don't have anything to do at night, because there are people that don't attend anything because they're busy. And finally they wind down at about 9 o'clock at night and they can concentrate on something. So it may be me doing some kind of live stream in the evening. The peanut butter bars are so delicious. I'm so afraid to make them because these are on page, I don't know what page that is. Anyway, they're in my new cookie ebook. Once I make them, it's really tempting to eat them because they're delicious. And I will have to just kind of put them away. And my house is now covered up with carrot cookies and almond cookies and the holiday oatmeal cookies. When I go on Chef AJ tomorrow at 1:30 Central Time, I'll be on Chef AJ's show. I'm going to have all the cookies that I've made this week on display, and I'm going to make Snicker date bars, but I'm not going to have time to make them on camera. I'll just make them ahead of time. So I think it'll be a lot of fun. I like that I can always watch your replays. That's from Charlene. Yes, they're on my YouTube channel, so no trouble watching them. All right, everybody, I'm going to let this cook for a few more minutes and enjoy it. What will your late night one be? For my late night one, I really want to make tomato soup. So there's a really good Italian ebook, and she has some beautiful recipes. And she had two things that caught my eye. One was a Italian bread and tomato soup, and I printed off the recipe. And another one was a zucchini soup, a creamy zucchini soup. So I think I'm going to make one of those two soups. I'm not sure which one, creamy zucchini or tomato. So anybody who's still on, what do you vote for, creamy zucchini or tomato soup? And I'll make whoever gives me the most responses, I'll make that soup. So write in the comments which soup you want. And here's my link one more time. I would appreciate you supporting the bundle and me through your purchase of the bundle. Sales have been kind of slow the last few days. I think people are waiting until the last day. They're saying, oh, I don't know, I don't really need it, I don't really want it. So I think there are people that are saying, I'll wait until the final day when I have to get it. tomato soup, zucchini soup. Okay. Tomato is ahead. Tomato is winning, so give me some more. Zucchini, uh-oh, it's tied. I need some more votes. Creamy zucchini, we're tied. Tomato's winning. Come on, I need some more votes. But, I'll probably end up making the zucchini one. If I don't make it tonight, I'll make it before the end of the bundle because I think I like the creamy. Oh, and we can make the tomato soup creamy. I can uh, I can revise her recipe and make it creamy tomato soup. How would you like that? You can do both. You can have classic tomato soup. Listen to these chips are so crunchy. You could have classic tomato soup and creamy tomato soup. Zucchini. Tomato reminds me of my early childhood. It's comforting. That ebook, you guys need to look at that ebook. It's called the Plant-Based Italian. Plentiful Fare is the name of it, but the name of the book is Plant-Based Italian. The last day of the bundle is Monday. It's Thursday, the last day is Monday, so don't forget to get it. And she has the tomato soup. She also has a grilled cheese sandwich to eat with the tomato soup, and the zucchini soup, and stuffed shell pasta, lasagna, all kinds of Italian food. And it's that ebook is good. Look at that ebook if you have the bundle. It's the Italian ebook. So, all right. Well, it sounds like tomatoes winning. Uh, Creamy tomato soup. I'm gonna make tomato soup tonight. So everybody, I gotta go. Got to get ready for my next appearance, and then get stuff ready for later today. So thank you all for attending, and I will see you later. Bye bye.